Particle command spawns a particle wherever you tell it to, end of tutorial. Is what I thought this video was going to be. Turns out, there's a lot more to the particle command than you might think. Today, we're gonna be covering it all. First, we'll cover the very basics. How to make particles appear where you want them, wiggle around, and look good. But then I'll show you the advanced stuff that Mojang really seems to want to hide from you. By the way, if you find this video helpful and want to see more, make sure you're subscribed. The particle command is a great way to spruce up your creations. It pretty much does what it says on the tin. It spawns particles. It's not too complicated, except for the fact that it has about 40 billion arguments, some of which aren't even listed in-game. Don't worry though, all we need to start out is a name and a pause. In fact, the particle command can actually be run as just /particle name. Let's try it. After I type /particle, I get a list of every particle in the game. You can pick whichever one you want. I'll do particle flame. This spawns a flame particle right at my feet. It's kind of stuck in the ground actually. Let's run it in a command block. Place, hitting done, place the button. Where is it? It's in the command block. Let's move it upwards by saying tilde, tilde 1, tilde. I'm sure you know how relative coordinates work, but if not, these tildes mean relative to the place the command is run. So this means it spawns the particle one block above where the command is run. But Legitimus, this is still really lame. Okay, well that's what the next 40 billion arguments are for. After the first set of coordinates, it looks like you should just be able to enter another set of coordinates. But do not be fooled. This is the delta, not regular coordinates. In mathematics, the word delta usually means something like difference. This defines how spread out the particles will be. I'll set it to 0, 0, 0 for now, because once we add the delta, we also need to specify the speed and count. Speed is usually pretty simple. It just means how fast the particles are moving in any random direction. I'll leave it at 0 for now. Our final argument is count. This is how many particles we want to spawn. I'll set it to something really high, like 1,000 for demonstration purposes. Now if we run our command, that's 1,000 flame particles in one place. Not very impressive. However, we can use the delta to spread them out. If we want our flame particles to spread out one block up and one block down, you'd think we could set the Y value of our delta to 1. That is definitely not one block. According to the wiki, these delta coordinates are multiplied by, quote, about 8, but they aren't evenly distributed across the shape. Instead, using a Gaussian distribution. And with that, we are now thoroughly out of my depth. This just means it uses a fancy function so that there are more particles at the center and less at the edges. Okay, so the multiplied by 8 thing is probably done to balance out the fact that there's less particles towards the edges. If we wanted a sphere of particles that was actually one block wide, then we should set our delta to 0.125, or 1/8 of a block, in each direction. Then if we spawn a ton of particles, it should look like a sphere. Yep, that looks about right. Finally, at the end of your particle command, you have the option of choosing what mode you want these particles to be displayed in. Force or normal. Normal is the default and means particles will be hidden if players have their particles turned off. Use this for any purely aesthetic particles, so people with slower computers can save some frames. Force makes your particles show up even if players have particles disabled. This should only, and always, be used when particles are an important part of gameplay. For example, if you can tell what team someone's on based on a particle effect, or see an invisible player with a particle effect, you should force the particles so people playing with particles off aren't at a disadvantage. But what can this all be used for? Well, if you put it in a repeating command block, you can get some great ambient effects. Here I used the warped spore particle around this frog. I think it looks like flies buzzing around. This is a great example of using particles creatively to add life to your builds. Another effect I did in this build, just some ambient sparkles. I think it makes the place feel more magical. The particles that play when you use a Totem of Undying are a very popular choice for map makers. Personally, I think they look like confetti. So since this was made for a game show I did a while ago, I made a lever here that dumps confetti onto the teams for when they win. Another game show feature I did was use the flash particles, which usually go with fireworks, to look like crazy camera flashes. Obviously, the contestants on this game show were gonna get swarmed by paparazzi periodically. Here's an example of a fancy particle trail. It uses 2 different particles and only runs when you're standing on the ground. This one is a classic, the old dripping sink. You'll want to run this one on a clock though, so there's not too much water. This one is similar, but uses a different particle to look like a shower. Lots of room for creativity here. There's actually one more thing you can do with particles. When using the particle's entity effect, or ambient entity effect, setting the count to 0 lets you change the color of the particles. The delta and speed parameters stop being delta and speed and become RGB color and brightness. Each coordinate is the amount of red, green, or blue on a scale from 0 to 1. You can mix these to create any color you want. The speed works as a brightness exponent, with the default being 128. That's what the wiki says at least. There was certainly some strange behavior, but with some tweaking, you'll be able to get whatever color you like. Setting the count to 0 has a cool effect on other particles too. It makes the delta act not as spread, but as direction for the speed. For example, setting the delta to 1, 0, 0 and the speed to 0.2 means the particle will move at a speed of 0.2 towards positive x. Is that it? Are we done? Oh wait! There's also the dust particle. Bet you never thought you'd hear someone so excited about a dust particle, huh? This particle has the same RGB abilities as entity effect, except this one takes 4 extra arguments instead of using delta and speed. Why? I have no idea! It's not documented anywhere in the game, you just have to know. Anyway, the first 3 values are RGB, and the 4th is size on a scale from 0 to 5. After that, everything is normal. Because making the size of the dust smaller makes it disappear faster, and the fact that it doesn't move around like entity effect does, makes it suitable for full color RGB displays. Creative people on the internet have been doing this for ages, but it would be a crime not to mention it. There are various generators and softwares people have made to convert images, 3D models, and even videos to Minecraft dust particle animations. I'm not going to cover making that stuff in this tutorial, but if you subscribe and it sounds like there's interest, I just might make another particle tutorial soon. There! Now you know everything there is to know about the particle command. Do you feel powerful? You should. There's nothing left for me to... Wait, actually, did you know that you can change the color of a note particle by setting the count to 0 and using the speed as an RGB slider? Thanks for watching. Click here to see some more relevant tutorials that I think will go well after you watch this one. If I make a tutorial on those fancy particle generators, you can be sure the link will be right here. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. It's pronounced legitimoose, not legit moose, and I'll see you in the next one.